rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Oh, as usual, I am running behind. Give me just a minute. Oh, it's been a heck of a week. I'm actually trying to get tonight's Pet of the Week finished putting together. So bear with me while I work in the background to try and get things, shall we say, up and running, or everything going on in the background again. Bonnie actually put this together. So yeah, I'm better behind than never. Yeah, that was Bonnie. That was part of the question, whether or not I got the pictures. I do have the pictures. There's a ton of them. So that's part of the reason why I'm trying to get things set up here. I wasn't expecting quite that many, but that's okay. No, we're good. We're good. I promise. I'm just getting it set up so that wrong folder. There we go. Just getting it set up properly here so that I can show everybody these wonderful photos that you have. So, okay. Okay, well, we're just going to go in order. Whatever order that ends up being. Okay. All right, cool. Now I can start to pay attention to what's going on in front of me. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. I am wearing a new shirt tonight. This one my lovely bride brought home for me. I'm going to try and stand up so you can see it. It's a little harder to see, but it says, I stand for the flag, I kneel for the cross. So there you go. And, yeah, and I do those things. I try very, very hard to do those things. All right. I don't know if anybody noticed, but, every so often we got to stop and we got to take stock. Because there's so much stuff running around in the news today. Yeah, I know. Bonnie, my mom saw this one on one of my episodes here not too long ago, and she goes, I like the color. Because I didn't show the lower half. This is like the second time that I've worn it on the program. I just didn't show the actual logo. But anyway, yeah, it's a good color. A really good color. Anyway, as I was saying, with this, we have a lot of things that are going on, and regardless of what you may hear in the news media, things are still pushing forward. They're still going forward. And I just, honestly, I am, every once in a while you got to stop, and you got to say, okay, what actually is happening here? What is really and truly going on? And so that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. Also, I have a video that I want to play from Thomas Sowell. There's this whole thing going on with the Democrats who all talk about things like, affirmative action and all of these other programs and everything else that oh my gosh, they are so good. We cannot live without them. They are fighting tooth and nail to keep them in place. And, well, yeah, it actually isn't true. Thomas Sowell is one of our great treasures. Milton Friedman. I mean, there's some great treasures of people who are out there that yeah, it's just, Anyway, we'll get to that. And then let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much good enough. All right, let's go on and get things started. First of all, today is none other than
Down to business. That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right. It's a Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. And I'm drinking out of the Buffalo Trace tonight. That's what's in the glass. And it is a Wednesday, so therefore that is TGRN Day. There it is, TGRN in the glass. I'll get to the first sip, but first we got to get Mrs. Whiskey up here to provide us with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Mrs. Whiskey as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank my beautiful other half, the better half, the best half, for doing that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And then send... Yeah, I know, she was nervous. She doesn't spend her life in front of a microphone like I have for the last, 10, 12 years. Anyway. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file you have that you create, and attach it to an email. Send that email off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. If you utilize your phone to record yourself, then what you can do is utilize the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. The share option to send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 25 of these. I'd like to get one more, 26, by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done it, please do it soon. It would be nice to reach my goal before the end of the, call it summer, fall, and winter. That's what's left. We have just a little bit of summer left, then we have fall, then we have winter. And then will be the new year. And it's coming up quick, folks. Coming up quick. All righty. Well, here's the EGRN. Stones in the bottom. First sip of the show. Smooth. All right, let's go ahead and move on to tonight's headline sponsor, which is none other than the fabulous, the fantastic, the incredible sounding TGRN.net. TGRN stands for True Grit Roots Network. We have two channels that we run. The first is obviously our big signature channel. That is Burning Rockin' Radio. Burning Rockin' Radio. Yes, that's right. BRNR. And all you have to do... Oh, wait. Got to scoot over to Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio also. Can't forget Dallas Moore. Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio is our other channel. And all you have to do is head on over to tgrn.net. That's tgrn.net. And you'll be able to listen right through your browser, right here. There's two widgets. Take your choice. That was Mrs. Whiskey acting funny, photo bombing me or video bombing me. Yeah, you can see right there. Right there. There she is. Anyway, Anyway, you can hit the play buttons right there on either one of the widgets, the web widgets, and you'll be able to. Oh, you guys missed it. It's Buffalo Trace. It's the Buffalo Trace tonight. I put it in there. So, anyway, yeah, and anyway, yeah, you can listen on the web. All you have to do is go to tgrn.net and click on the play buttons, and you'll be listening right through your web interface. Or you can do us a favor and download our apps for them. They are two separate apps, okay? They're two separate apps. They have the App Store and Google Play. You can go and download. One is BRNR by TGRN. The other one is Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio. And there you go. So you can do that, and we would certainly appreciate it. Take a listen. We've been working really hard on BRNR, trying to get it to sound just right and do everything just right. It's if you're a 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where the guitar, meaning shows up front and center, man, you have got to check this out. If you're a Gen Xer, oh, dude, you're going to love this channel because it is filled with all of those rock hits, classics that you grew up on. I promise. And if you're into outlaw country, you can go and check out Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio and go and check that out and see what you think over there. But Dallas Moore is kind of in the driver's seat there in terms of the sound and everything else. So go and check that out as soon as you can. And there you go. So there you go. And Dallas Moore should do a day for Dolly Parton. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, Bonnie, if you would do me a favor, I agree, but I'm not the one in charge of the programming. So if you would do me a favor, if you want Dolly Parton Day on Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio, send a message to info, I-N-F-O, at tgrn.net and put that into the suggestion box. So send an email off to info at tgrn.net and put it in the info box. And there you go. And you can go and check it out. So, oh, well, thank you. Everybody's been, I've been skipping some of this. But G says, Ms. T has been listening to them lately and says they are good, meaning both channels. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that. Let me see. My News says, gee, I listen to BRNR, Burning Rockin' Radio, and I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. There you go. There you go. So, yeah, try and get a Dolly Parton Day. I'm sure Dallas Moore would do it. I mean, well... Same guy kind of programs both, but that's a fantastic idea. It would be Dolly Parton Day or something like that, where we feature Dolly Parton. Anyway, yeah, go and check it out. Go to tgrn.net. TGRN stands for True Grit Roots Network, based out of Austin, Texas. And we do appreciate, by the way, we appreciate all of the new listeners. If you haven't checked them out, you really should. All right. Well, one of the things that has been moving forward, of course, despite all of the legal efforts by idiots and morons and droogs to stop it, is the White House ballroom. That's right. The Supreme Court I think it was the Supreme Court just recently said, hey, you know what? Let it go. And so the construction is moving forward. Well, that, of course, pisses off all Democrats who don't like it when Trump wins, especially considering, now think about this. I don't know if he's actually going to put his name on it like he usually does with most of his buildings. But it would be kind of cool if there was a plaque or something inside, that said that basically said this this ballroom is named Trump Ballroom or something like that. Which would just irritate the hell out of the leftist lunatics that are out there. That's all I'm saying. But all of that being said, yeah, there's this guy up in Philly. His name is Larry Krasner. He's a DA. He's a Soros-funded DA, reportedly. And, well, he kind of had a bit of a problem with it. And he kind of said something, let's say, a little derogatory about it. Let's go ahead and take a quick listen.
I'm going to have a paperweight sitting on my desk. You know what that paperweight's going to be? It's going to be a piece of the ballroom after we all blow it up. That's what it's going to be. In an official ceremony, just so we're clear. In an official ceremony, we're going to blow it up, and we're going to give the taxpayers their money back by selling all the pieces as paperweights, and I will have one on my desk.
Okay, well, first of all, this guy is a complete and utter total moron. Because the reality of it is that the ballroom's not being paid for by the taxpayers, you dumb cluck. It's not. The ballroom's being paid for by private money. That's right. Private money. Yeah. Now, this same guy has called the president during his remarks a pain in the ass and an embodiment of hate, embodiment of ignorance, and the embodiment of depriving people of their vote and education. None of that is true. Zero. Now, he also predicted that the Trump ballroom would not survive future administrations. He says in about 10 or 15 years, we are all going to be sitting here with smiles on their faces, or smiles on our faces, and I'm going to have a paperweight and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, the ballroom, by the way, is being constructed on the site that was formerly occupied by the White House East Wing. Project is estimated to cost approximately $400 million. The Trump administration is saying roughly $200 million in private donations has already been spent or committed on the project. But that's the thing, is that it's being funded by private people. This is not a public works project. Anyway. Well, another guy, lawyer, the newly minted Attorney General of the United States. Well, he had a few things to say to or about this whole thing. Oh, let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
And I'm sure you know the Philadelphia District Attorney, Larry Krasner. He was talking about the ballroom, the President Trump's ballroom. In a press conference yesterday, the headline said, Philadelphia District Attorney says, we're going to blow it up when discussing Trump's White House ballroom. Obviously, I hope he was speaking metaphorically. When do you think that this will get resolved so that the ballroom can be built?
Well, the ballroom is being built, and it's disgusting that a district attorney in Philadelphia, who, by the way, has a city with its own problems, is so focused on what the president is doing at the White House. And by the way, and so that's something we're continuing to litigate. The ballroom is being built. It's not stopped. And the Supreme Court issued the stay, which allows us to continue to do the work. And this isn't just about a safe, secure place for the president and his family and world leaders. It's also a national security issue, which we've been talking about now for months and months and months. And the fact that you even have a local district attorney, instead of focusing on his own city's problems, his own city's crimes, talk about, quote, blowing it up, is reflective of how divisive and unfortunate the Democrats have made this issue. But yes, we're going to continue to build the ballroom. President Trump has promised that to the American people, and we're going to continue to back him up in court to make sure that it can get built.
All right, Mr. Attorney General, thank you for kicking off our 10 a.m. hour. We appreciate it.
And there you go. The ballroom is continuing to be built. Yep. It's continuing. So there you go. It's moving forward. regardless of what the leftists try to do. Well, shifting gears here. You remember way back, and yeah, this is, we got to dig back a little bit. But you remember under the Biden administration, there was the time when a hurricane came in Florida, and Ron DeSantis was like extremely irritated, pissed off, whatever you want to call it. And he was sitting there and he was talking about how FEMA workers, that's the Federal Emergency Management Administration, how FEMA workers were essentially skipping Trump supporters' homes after the hurricane. You remember that? Well, there was some back and forth about whether or not it was happening. And yes, there were a couple people, you know, a couple houses or a couple FEMA folks that were essentially talking about it. And they, you know, they said, oh yeah, you know, well, we knocked on the doors, nobody answered, so on and so forth. Right? Well, there was a report that came out from the Department of Homeland Security's Office of the Inspector General that has now confirmed that FEMA workers intentionally skipped homes that were displaying Trump flags during relief efforts following Hurricane Milton back in October of 2024. The workers apparently cited that the signage was justification for bypassing the properties. That violates the Hatch Act, by the way, and internal FEMA policies. The Inspector General's report, which was released Monday. Sorry, I'm one day off. Monday verified 11 total documented cases of politically motivated discrimination, with one FEMA worker explicitly noting in the file did not visit due to Trump flag. Just the divisiveness of these idiots. I mean, they don't... Look, if you go into the federal government, you got to leave your divisiveness at the door. You really do. You need to understand that you are there to provide some type of service, okay? You're supposed to do the job, regardless of whether it's kind of like when Dan Bongino was talking about, hey, you know what? I'm a staunch conservative, and yet I protected Obama. Yeah. And he said that when things got, too much, he ended up leaving. That's your choice. If you can't handle the job, it's time to go. You need to leave. So, yeah. Anyway, apparently the Biden administration, because that's who was in charge, they're the ones that that had people go and block this stuff. So, and, of course, the leftists are like, oh, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Secretly in the back of their minds, they're like, applauding, going, yay! Woohoo! Yeah. That Trump supporters are being discriminated against. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, by the way, at the time, the Office of Professional Responsibility for FEMA downplayed the issue. And now the Office Inspector Generals criticize the agency for inadequate supervision and failure to document survivor interactions properly. Gee, I wonder why. Anyway, a DHS official commented on this, saying federal disaster responses are supposed to serve every American equally, no matter who they voted for or what sign is in their yard. Yeah. So, again, if you work in government, you're supposed to be apolitical in your dealings with people. Well, that obviously didn't happen during the Biden administration. Yet another demonstration as to the hatred that the Democrats have for the individual. Speaking of Democrats, you know how they constantly sit there and they talk about, oh, you know, affirmative action needs to be in place because black folks and other people of color, yeah, they need to have that because of discrimination, of a inherent discrimination and bias and so on and so forth that all stem from essentially conservatives, white conservatives is what they say. And well, yeah, that's not quite the case. One of the greatest Americans that I think has been around, he's still alive as far as I'm aware. He's like in his 90s by now. Former Marxist, brilliant, absolute brilliant mind. An economist who has actually had many comments and many truth-telling incidences, both on TV as well as if you take a look at any of the places on the social medias, they regurgitate a lot of his stuff. Just a fantastic history guy. And let me just tell you, he woke up and realized that, you know what? All of this stuff is kind of off. He follows Milton Friedman, which, by the way, he's the one that put out, I think it was, I don't remember the amount, but he put out like a monetary bounty on anyone who could literally tell him that trickle-down economics, who said it, where is it written in economics, again, proving the Democrats wrong because they keep talking about it, trickle-down economics, trickle-down, Ronald Reagan and his trickle-down economics. It's not a literal economic theory, and it's never been. And Thomas Sowell put out a money reward, said, hey, if you can tell me who in the serious economic community, the serious economist community, who said this and where does it exist, I'll give you X amount of money. And I can't remember what the amount was. And it wasn't like 5 cents. I mean, it was seriously like thousands of dollars, I think. But anyway, he was sitting there and he was talking about it. He's like, can anybody prove to me that this actually exists? Trickle-down economics actually exists. And he was never taken up on it. But that being said, he's also black. And so just want to say that he's got something from a long time ago. And this is a flashback to when he was being interviewed by, I'm not sure, I think it's like NBC, previous NBC, like way previous NBC. And anyway, he, this goes way back, so we're going into the Wayback Machine. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. I have a audio for that. Hang on. I have a sound effect for that. It's very rare for me to use this, but guess what? We're jumping in the Wayback Machine. Let's go. There we go. We're going in a time warp. Going back. And we're going to listen to Thomas Sowell from, I don't know when. This looks like the 80s maybe. But here he is to talk a little bit about what the effects of affirmative action actually have had. And this was in the 80s. Take a listen.
Blacks have made more progress in the last 17 years than at any other time in history, progress that came about largely as a result of the government social programs during that period, among them affirmative action. What do you propose, or would you propose, as substitutes as we see the administration going about the business of...
I would disagree with you entirely on your facts. As I've looked at affirmative action, I do not see blacks or Hispanics rising relative to the general population under affirmative action. I think there are a lot of assertions and foregone conclusions that are stated over and over again but repetition is not a substitute for facts. The fact is that under affirmative action, Puerto Rican income, for example, has fallen from 60% of the national average to 50% of the national average. Mexican American income has fallen from 76% to 73% of the national average. Black income has fluctuated right about where it was before affirmative action. When you break down the figures further, what you find is that those blacks who have education, who have years of experience on the job, are rising absolutely in relative to whites, but that those who are average and who don't have that level of education, they are falling relative to whites. So they are falling behind from before. I would not date the progress from 17 years ago, the 1964 Civil Rights Act I assume you're talking about. I think we need to go back 10 years before that, and in the preceding decade, blacks in high-level jobs more than doubled. What we're watching is a long-run trend based upon the rising skill level of the black population.
Mr. Eaton?
Well, there you are. That whole idea that we had to have things like affirmative action after the Civil Rights Act, yeah, it kind of shows that some of the social programs that we've been putting together, that a lot of people have been, saying have benefited the, consider them the underprivileged, I guess. I don't, but whatever. They call them the underprivileged. It didn't actually happen. Just like with the whole idea, things like Social Security and some of these healthcare, like the ACA, everything the Democrats have been putting out as, oh, see what this program or whatever has done. Yeah, that isn't the case. It isn't true. It isn't true. And, yeah, so go figure. And yet these leftists, they keep hanging on to the not so actual truth, and they try to cloud and hide the truth, which is, hey, these programs, these social programs, they really didn't work. It's no different than FDR. Everybody talks about FDR and his New Deal, how it, in school, I tell you, I learned in school that if it weren't for FDR and the New Deal, that America, in terms of trying to come out of the Great Depression, America never would have happened. It never would have come out. Well, the reality of it is that analyses now, looking back, are saying, well, he actually added time. I've seen anywhere from 8 to 12 years to the impact of the Great Depression. That had he left things alone, it would have come out, America would have come out just off of its standard capitalist engine, would have come out of it a hell of a lot sooner. And so all of the things that the Democrats keep saying in terms of bigger government, more support, more everything, if they'd have just left it alone and not touched it, America would have been just fine. It would have been just fine. These people don't seem to understand. They don't seem to realize that, reality is that sometimes you got to let people fall before they can stand up, dust themselves off, and get back to business and make things better for themselves. That not everybody needs to have an overarching nanny-style government in order to get things back on track. Now, let's talk about getting things back on track because of the whole illegal alien situation that Biden went ahead and put together for us during his term. Apparently, Trump is moving forward and has exceeded expectations and has made made the number of the ICE arrests in July being the highest for his second term, based on this Newsmax piece right here. 50,000 ICE arrests in July, which is the highest for Trump's second term.
1,500%. They don't need to be the...
Sorry about that. Just the minute that I move, this thing keeps going off. Anyway, Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested nearly 50,000 people during July, the highest single monthly arrest total during the second Trump administration. So again, here we go. The leftists keep talking about, oh, no, Trump's not going to get rid of these people. They're here to stay. We brought them in. They're here. No, Trump is getting rid of these people. They have continued to advance its mass deportation agenda despite the shift in approach from high-profile operations in large American cities that sparked the public outcry, more like the leftist outcry. Okay. July arrest tally of 49,571 marks a 15% jump from the 43,021 arrests a month earlier, and a 70% increase from the 29,241 arrests in February. So there you go. And by the way, that was after the enforcement surge in Minnesota. So this is all according to government data that provided by ICE to the University of California, Berkeley's Deportation Data Project and analyzed by the leftist Associated Press. Immigration arrests a month before Trump entered office hovered at a little over 8,000, which was a figure that was largely made up by immigrants transferred from city and state jails and prisons and turned over to ICE to remove from the country. How much you want to bet that 8,000 came from all red states? Just saying. Anyway, during Trump's first year in office, the numbers started climbing as the administration loosened restrictions on where and who ICE could arrest, while it also infused the agency with billions of dollars. So in his first year in office, by December, Trump arrests jumped to more than 40,177, according to the data, which was obtained through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. So, yeah. In the aftermath of the shootings of the idiots that got in the way in Minnesota in January, they sparked protests. Arrests began to fall to nearly 30,000 in February. They remained stagnant for a few months, and the numbers of people arrested in June jumped to more than 43,000, then to roughly 49,500 in July. So, yeah. In his confirmation hearing earlier this year, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin pledged to keep ICE out of the headlines, suggesting that the administration's immigration crackdown might take a softer approach. But his tenure has been marred by a number of fatal shootings of immigrants, meaning fatal shootings of illegal aliens who wanted to stay here and would do anything to do so, in encounters with ICE officers. Again, don't poke the bear, okay? That's all I'm saying. And the figures show that Mullin hasn't shifted the agency from President Donald Trump's vision of mass deportations. Texas and Florida, by the way, accounted for nearly 20,000 of the July arrests. Yeah, I wonder why. What's common between Texas and Florida? Anybody know? Somebody know in the chat? Anybody know? I think I know the answer. Anyway, in a sign of how important these states have become to the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda, both states have leaned heavily into cooperation agreements with ICE called the 287G agreements. I got something here a little bit later in regards to that allow local and state law enforcement to essentially operate as arms of federal immigration enforcement. Yeah. Well, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals they're actually helping this whole situation out. So there was a block at one point. It was a preliminary injunction that was prohibiting the U.S. Border Patrol officers from detaining people when they didn't have a reasonable suspicion they violated immigration laws. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to have reasonable suspicion, okay? Meaning that you don't have to have this quote-unquote probable cause factor when it comes to immigration. An immigration officer, by law, can stop anybody at any time, ask anybody any questions. They are allowed to do so, because if you are not allowed in this country, guess what? You don't have the same protections under the Constitution as other folks do. Now, once your identity is confirmed and you're a U.S. citizen, obviously you're let go. But if you're not, well, you get taken away. Well, apparently, the United Farm Workers of America filed a lawsuit back in February of 2025. And this was following the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in Kern County, California, in January of 2025. Well, a U.S. district judge, again, doing something she can't do, imposed a preliminary injunction in April blocking the U.S. Border Patrol from detaining people that it suspects but may not quite have the probable cause requirement of violating immigration laws. Okay? Now, that being said, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Monday went ahead and went, you know what? You guys can't do this. You can't block them. Now, this is amazing because the Ninth Circuit Court is usually the one that gets overturned the most. But they got it right this time. And so anyway, they basically said in a unanimous decision, that, this is not, no, you don't have standing. And you remember a while ago, we were talking about standing. We've talked about standing with regards to the election cases, and this is a legal qualification to decide whether or not a case can move forward. Now, in Latin, it's called locus standi, and it's the legal right of a particular party, the plaintiff, okay, who is supposed to be able to bring a lawsuit to court based on their direct stake in the outcome of the dispute. Now, it's supposed to be a threshold requirement, ensuring that the courts only hear actual cases or controversies rather than hypothetical or abstract freaking things, which, trust me, if the court allowed hypothetical or abstract, oh my gosh, the Democrats would be in court every single day. Now remember, with standing, you have a 3-question test. Question number 1, has the person who is bringing the lawsuit suffered a concrete particular harm or are in the imminent danger of having a concrete or particular harm occur? The second standing question is the injury traceable to the defendant's conduct? Meaning, is it for certain that whatever the defendant did caused the concrete particularized harm? And then the third, which this one is the most important, is whether or not the court can actually do anything to remedy the harm. Now, in the cases of the election process, the election cases back in 2020, the majority of them were dismissed due to standing, meaning that either the court figured out that, well, there wasn't actually a direct injury, or there wasn't a clear connection to the action, or the courts had no jurisdiction in providing any kind of a redress. And see, this is why the leftists, the idiots that are out there who keep talking about 2020, oh, so many court cases, they say they have settled this in court. No, they didn't. They were dismissed because of standing. They're not even a part of it, meaning that they never even got to the evidentiary stage. And so this is where things get a little murky when it comes to the election results. But it's because of standing that the Ninth Circuit Court overturned the lower court. Because to them, they basically said, well, everything that you presented to the court was due to a past harm, not one that you're under right now or in the imminent danger of having harm hit you. So while past harm may support standing to seek some kind of damages, the court wrote, it does not on its own establish standing to seek prospective injunctive relief, which is what this court did. And so the panel, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals panel said, yeah, okay, you guys are, nope, the injunction is gone. You can't, the Border Patrol, I mean, if you can prove past harm, okay, great. That'll be brought out in court during the case. But you can't look at past harm and say, oh, past harm is, a reason for putting this injunction on moving forward. So anyway, the case was sent back to, I think it's Thurston County, for the limited purpose of determining whether or not the plaintiffs actually have standing to seek prospective relief. And so because standing wasn't completely proven, well, they lifted the preliminary injunction. So there we go. Yeah, I agree. If they weren't out there breaking the law, there wouldn't be actually any problem. Anyway. Well, there's another aspect of immigration in particular that we're talking about. The application for visas. Now, when you apply for a visa, you have to, retain or have certain criteria in order to apply for the visa, in order to qualify. And one of the things that has been challenged in court recently is this idea that the government, that the president in particular, through policy, is basically saying, hey, we're not going to issue visas to these people, whether it's a specific country, a specific, I don't know if they've really broken it down to ethnicities, but they basically said, hey, if you're coming from any of these countries, we will not issue you a visa. Well, that's been challenged because according to the people that are taking this to court, it basically said, well, the president doesn't have that power. He doesn't have the power to do this. Now, I addressed this on one of my recent episodes where I said, well, and technically he does. Because if he puts out, in accordance with immigration law, if he puts out this idea that, hey, we're blocking entry, all entry from, say Haiti. And we say, yeah, we're going to block entry from Haiti. If you're from Haiti, if you're a Haitian, we're blocking entry. And he can do this, by the way, under immigration law at any given time, for any amount of time, for any reason. He really doesn't even need a reason to, say, under the current immigration law. Well, here's the problem. Somebody somewhere seems to think that if he says, hey, we're blocking entrance into the country from Haiti, anyone who's a Haitian, we're blocking. Okay. And he can do this, by the way, with any individual, any group of aliens. It doesn't matter. That's the way the law is written. That all of a sudden, that means that no, visa applicants can still get through. Granted, it's a little bit of a gray area in terms of the laws. Okay. But the block would trump, pardon the pun, the application, the visa applications. Because anybody from Haiti under this particular hypothetical scenario that tries to apply on a visa applicant, okay, then his saying we're not accepting anybody from there would immediately block the visas, the visa application. It would stop it. The State Department wouldn't even process it. Well, the courts, at least one court said, well, that's not the case. You can't do that because Congress is the one that decides the visa application laws and so on and so forth. You know, I get so frustrated with these people. Congress doesn't apply the law. Congress doesn't execute the law. That's the reason why we have an executive branch, okay? So regardless of whatever happens, you can write the law, and believe me, Congress is very good at this, write the law so damn gray and ambiguous that the executive branch can just kind of, well, we interpret it this way because you wrote it that way, and so now we interpret it to be this way, and so now we can do whatever we want. This is how Democrat presidents get away with all of the crap that they do. But in this particular case, the Trump administration has now said, okay, you guys are complaining about me putting a brake on visa applications, and by brake, I mean B-R-A-K-E, putting a brake on visa applications for certain countries. Well, guess what? I'm just going to say no to everything. So, the State Department says there is a temporary halt in all visa applications. And this is because of the fact that it is necessary to halt all of this so that the consular officers can receive in-depth training to evaluate every visa applicant comprehensively and consistently. Now, this news broke late last night, and left-wing publications, of course, went nuts. They went crazy. Yes. Here in The Guardian, all U.S. immigrant visa applications have been paused by the Trump administration as the State Department moves to tighten restrictions and limit access to applicants who they deem could end up relying on U.S. assistance, a State Department official confirmed on Tuesday. The agency launched the initiative at all embassies and consulates in early August, according to the official, and visa appointments had to be adjusted to accommodate in-depth training, according to the official. The State Department has been working on updated guidance and training since early this year to ensure all consular officers are fully equipped to evaluate every visa applicant comprehensively and consistently. The Financial Times reports, this is continuing in The Guardian, by the way, the Financial Times reports that applicants with interviews already scheduled were sent emails that their appointments had been canceled and that they would be informed of a new date and time. The initiative began at U.S. embassies and consulates earlier this month, according to a State Department official. Applicants who already had interviews scheduled have reportedly received emails telling them that their appointments were canceled and that they will have to wait for a new date. Well, no kidding. Oh, these people are freaking out. They're going, wait a minute. You can't do this. Yes, they can. It's called the executive branch is executing the laws. You want to blame somebody, Democrats? Blame Congress. Seriously, go all the way back, way back. We were talking about Wayback Machine. Go all the way back to Clinton. That's right. Billy Boy Clinton signed the existing laws that we are currently working under in immigration. And Trump is just actually enforcing them. So there you go. You can sit here and bitch and moan all you want. All you want. So, yeah, in regards to this, Trump earlier had ordered visa applications to be halted from 75 countries that failed the 30% public charge basis for its immigrants, only for an activist judge to block the policy. So this was a Biden-appointed federal judge that struck down, quote unquote, the Trump administration suspension of immigrant visas for foreign nationals of 75 countries, handing immigration activists a victory against President Trump's efforts to slam the brakes on mass immigration. Well, yeah, now it's like, okay, the Trump administration basically said, all right, fine, we're not going to fight over this list of countries. We're just going to pause everything. So things were still moving forward despite the Democrat fight to figure out what the heck is going on with all of this. So, yeah. Now, one of the biggest questions whenever you have something like this, and I just got to say, when I was obtaining a visa, a permit, essentially, to head on to or head into China, my company that I was representing had to write an authorized letter. I actually think it had to be notarized. Letter that basically said, oh no, this person will not will not fall into your whatever it is that they have system of, welfare or whatever it was. And they had to write that in order to get me into the country. Well, the reason why I was going over there was obviously there was a client of ours that needed representation in Shanghai for one of their projects, and they wanted somebody from my company to go. It had to deal with wireless networking. So anyway, I ended up going over there and spent about a week in country. I still have the visa. The visa's like, I think it was 10 years. The visa itself was like 10 years long. But I don't have any desire to go back, as far as going into China. But anyway, I think it still might be effective. I don't know. I'm not even caring. Anyway, so, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, Trump is looking to shut the immigration revolving door that we've had going around. He's moving on a different immigration front, according to this article in Red State, where he's announcing plans to revoke visas from asylum seekers who originally entered the United States as tourists or business travelers. That move could affect as many as 200,000 people, and if it is carried out at scale, would amount to the largest mass visa revocation in U.S. history. Now, the State Department is coordinating the effort with the Department of Homeland Security right now. Now, the administration has continually and steadily tightened the visa process in other ways as well. Applicants may now face additional scrutiny, including reviews of their social media histories, along with higher processing costs. All of this was according to the Associated Press. So, yeah. And keep in mind, immigration policies like this, that was why Trump was elected, because millions of Americans were not thrilled at what the Biden administration did by ingesting massive numbers of foreigners and that were pouring into the country. And they thought that Trump was going to stop it all. Well, guess what? He is working to stop it all. And it looks like President Trump got the message that, hey, you elected me to shut down all of this process. I hear you, America. I hear you. Well, speaking of, and you recall, I talked to you about the 287G earlier. Well, now, one sanctuary state governor is now being sued by several of the state's counties. New York counties, this in Breitbart, New York counties sue the governor to protect cooperation with ICE. Yeah. 2 New York counties have decided to sue Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul to stop a new state law that bans them or bars them from working with federal immigration officers. Now, I'm just going to raise my hand and point something out here. The sheriffs of those counties, constitutionally speaking, they outrank the governor in that county. The sheriff, which comes when you want to talk about history, goes all the way back, so far back to England, where it was the Shire Reeve that got bastardized into sheriff. The Shire Reeve was the representative of the king at that point in the Shire, meaning the county. And this has actually been held up by the Supreme Court in multiple cases, where the governor of the state and the state legislature tries to put in some sort of a law, in particular regarding the Constitution. In this particular case that I'm thinking of, had to deal with the Second Amendment. And the sheriff basically said, no, I'm not going to enforce that, and sued because they were, one, under undue stress for putting into universal background checks, having that kind of requirement put in. And second, because it violated the Constitution. Well, that sheriff went all the way to the Supreme Court and won. You remember me talking about that. There's actually even a book regarding it called The Constitutional Sheriff, which you can get at theamericanview.com. Anyway, officials of, I'm going to mess this up, Brome County and Rensselaer County have announced that they intend to join together in a federal lawsuit challenging the new state law sponsored by state Democrats known as PIX 11. According to PIX 11, which is the station. The federal law seeks to void a the federal lawsuit. God, I'm doing horrible tonight. The federal lawsuit seeks to avoid a New York state law that bars police departments and other state law enforcement agencies from entering into the federal 287G program, which formalizes a working relationship between the state departments and the federal immigration law enforcement branches. And here's the thing, people, and this is what the leftists don't seem to understand. Immigration, let me say it again. Immigration resides 100% in the federal government's purview. Okay? Is that clear enough for you? It is in, and it is one of the items listed in Article 1, Section 8 as a purview of the federal government. And as we know, according to the 10th Amendment, if it's written in the Constitution and specifically denied to the states, states don't have any right to it. And this has been supported by cases, immigration cases, over and over and over again. States are not supposed to get involved in immigration. Now, that being said, state law enforcement agencies can assist, but they cannot do it on their own. They cannot be doing this without oversight from the federal government. And so in this particular case, some of these counties are like, hey, we want to help the federal government do this. And you, as the governor, can't bar us from helping the federal government and getting into this 287G program. Because again, immigration is 100% federal. Now, don't forget, there is that supremacy clause that says that if a federal law conflicts with state law, the federal law takes precedence and overrules and overrides that state law. So, yeah, the 287G program would be considered a federal law, and it would override it. It would override a state ban. If the local authorities decided to join that 287G program, that would override. That would kick in and override the federal or the state program. So Governor Hochul, by the way, and speaking of that, the law by itself in New York is called Local Crimes, or the Local Cop Act. They went into effect on August 25th, which would have been yesterday. And it summarily nullifies agreements with ICE that have already been in place for 13 New York counties. Hochul said, local police will assist ICE only if a real crime has been committed. Real crime has been committed. They are here illegally. What is the difference? Where the hell does she get off thinking that there's real crime and not so real crime? Crime is crime. If it's a breaking the law, it's called crime. And it's real. Whatever. Anyway, she goes, local police will assist ICE only if a real crime has been committed. But on civil immigration matters, ICE is on their own. Well, again, I hate to point this out. Immigration is actually not a civil matter entirely. See, any time that you can be literally imprisoned for a crime, that means there is some element of that crime that is a criminal offense. If all it was that they had fines that needed to be paid, that would be a civil offense. It's not. Breaking into the country contains two separate levels. You do have the civil offense, but you also have the criminal offense, where you can be put into jail up to 1 year. The minute that you do that, now it's a criminal. It's literally a crime, a criminal crime. So anyway, by the way, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, who is running for governor against Hochul, strenuously opposed the Local Crimes Local Cop Act and says that his county takes a serious bite out of crime by working with ICE. Well, we've seen how crime can get bitten by working with ICE. I mean, just take a look at D.C. as an example, or any of these other places across the entire country. With these mass deportations that have been going on, there has been a serious drop in crime across the country. Because, believe it or not, many of these illegal aliens are also criminals. And they are committing crimes on top of the crime of them coming in and crossing the border illegally. But they're committing all these. I mean, how many times have we shown on this program, or have you seen in the news, where an illegal alien has gone and either knifed somebody, killed somebody, raped somebody? I mean, it's all over the place. So why would a governor who is supposed to be executing the laws of both the federal as well as the state constitutions, why would a governor of a state be saying, no, you can't do that here? Yeah. Anyway. Blakeman recently said, we got rid of 2,000 illegal aliens, I should say, with criminal records in Nassau County without raiding a church, a school, a daycare center, or a hospital because we cooperated with ICE. So, yeah. Speaking of immigrants in New York, yeah, you remember Zoflake Ma'am Danny's idea of grocery stores? Yeah, we're going to have state-run or city-run, in this particular case, city-run grocery stores. They're going to provide up to 30% lower than retail costs. I remember how we were talking about the whole where that 30% was going to come from. It's going to come from the taxpayers. Remember that? Well, Zoflake Ma'am Danny says, hey, I'm for the immigrant. I want to make this place safe for the immigrants. Blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? The immigrants are fighting back. Immigrant grocery store owners are now suing New York Mayor Zoflake Ma'am Danny over the whole socialist grocery store scheme. That's right. Immigrant business owners of several New York City bodegas, not bodegas, as frickin' the doctor of all doctors, Dr. Jill Biden, said. They're called bodegas. Anyway, immigrant business owners of several New York City bodegas are suing Mayor Zoflake Ma'am Danny over his plans for the government-run grocery store, saying that the scheme itself is going to destroy their businesses. The Multicultural Business Coalition, which is a group that is representing a large number of immigrant-owned businesses, filed 2 lawsuits this Monday, just as the Zoflake administration announced that the first government-owned grocery store will be open early next year. NBC's president, Ken Roldan, blasted the mayor on behalf of the businesses that the group says have been historically discriminated against. Ooh, discrimination, working against the discriminators, or because of the discriminatees, or however you want to put it. Anyway, Roldan says that the scheme, mayor's scheme, the Zoflake's scheme, is a direct assault on minority businesses by the Zoflake, who claims to be a champion of disenfranchised, poor, and working-class New Yorkers. This was all according to the New York Post. One of the lawsuits likens the opening of the government-owned grocery store as a plan to open a Walmart in the city. an idea that detractors said would quickly run local stores out of business. So apparently the Zoflake, he's coming under fire for his, his plan to socialize the New York City grocery store system. So the NBC, by the way, continued and said that the city has failed to study the discriminatory effects on local businesses if the government sponsors grocers. The filing also asks the courts to force the city to make a feasibility study on the effects of the Zoflake's plan on local businesses. Yeah. One of these people, the chairman, Frank Garcia, told the New York Post, said, "My grandfather opened up one of the first bodegas." I almost said bodegas. Anyway, the first bodegas back in late 1960 when East Harlem was burning and the A&Ps and wall bombs were leaving. He established the first Latino grocery or association to protect the rights of immigrant store owners. I'm proud to be following up in his tradition because of what the Zoflake is doing is disgracing his grandfather's memory. So there you go. The Zoflake is biting the hand that feeds him, realistically. Anyway. All right. In international news. Recently, John Radcliffe, the CIA director, okay? Oh, don't worry, Coco. I remember McGruff the crime dog. I do. The guy, he was always dressed in a trench coat, so no matter what the no matter what the weather was in the scene. Anyway, getting back to the international desk. So, CIA Director John Radcliffe flew to Moscow this week. And it was kind of in a hush-hush meeting. I mean, everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's going to Moscow. He went there, apparently, according to the real reason, according to the public reason, that he is there on a very sort of semi-routine. Now, Trump told everybody that on the Glenn Beck program, by the way, on Wednesday, that was today, saying that, well, I hate to disappoint people, but we would like to see the war with Ukraine end. And he's only going over there because, well, we hope to put an end to this. So, yeah. Anyway. The president downplayed the rumors that the trip was about Russian President Vladimir Putin possibly considering more serious escalations across Europe, or about the situation in Iran, especially as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced tough sanctions against countries that maintain close economic ties with Iran. Trump said, well, John Radcliffe is a fantastic guy. He's the head of the CIA, and he's not there for any of the reasons you just said. Now, something may come out of it. We're working very hard to get that war ended. And frankly, they both want to see it ended, he continued, meaning Trump, presumably referring to Ukrainian President Zelensky and Russian President Putin. The Kremlin said that Radcliffe and Putin did not have a one-on-one meeting during the visit, and that was according to CBS News. So all those people who are out there, they're like, oh no, what's he doing over there? Well, it looks like he's just doing typical diplomatic stuff. At least that's what they're going to tell you publicly. And apparently the CIA director also made waves for a similar visit into Cuba back in May. But, yeah, there you go. All right. Okay. Well, there's quite a few pictures that I need to get through here. So let's go ahead and get to tonight's pet of the week. All right, this pet of the week was submitted by none other than the matriarch of the Whiskey Warrior, P1, Bonnie. So, apparently, well, see, Bonnie, I'm going to throw a little color. We'll call it artistic license here. So, Bonnie has this dog. His name is Landon. Landon, are you a good boy? And occasionally he watches this program. And when he does, I got to give a shout out to him. I haven't done it in a long time. Hi, Landon. How are you doing? Are you a good boy? Anyway. So Landon apparently is 10 years old now. And you'll be getting to see the pictures here in a little bit. But 10-year-old Landon went to his first day of daycare. That's right. He went to his first day of daycare being 10 years old. And let's just say that Bonnie, of course, thinks of Landon as one of her children. And so it was very sad to leave him there. You know, she is his mom. But apparently Landon did quite well on his first day of school. And did engage with the other dogs, wasn't mean with them. Now, I'm not saying that Landon ever would be mean to him, to any other dogs, but, you know. Anyway, he did have a Houndstown hangover when we got home. So apparently they stopped on the way home after Landon's first day and got him what is known as a pup cup. Now, I'm assuming a pup cup is the same kind of thing as what a pup cup is up here in the Northwest, meaning it's a cup of whipped cream that you can get when you go to, go to coffee shops or whatever. Maybe it might be like some of that pup-friendly ice cream or something along those lines. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and I gotta get rid of this, and I gotta this and put this onto this. So there is Landon with his pup cup. There you go. Of course, he's got to get his pup cup. So there it is. Oh, trust me, it's not just Starbucks. It's not just Starbucks. They do it on many of our of the coffee shops and stuff. Anyway, so here he is. Here is the I don't know what this is. This is a property owner. Never mind. So there. Sorry. Anyway, here is Landon at daycare or school for the first day. So there he is with one of his buddies, one of his school chums, I guess. And yeah, hi. By the way, they said hi earlier.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so there's Landon on the left, and he's hanging out with his, I guess, a buddy. And there we go. There they all are. So this is Landon's first day of school, daycare. So he's 10 years, Landon's 10 years old. Watches the show religiously. Yeah, anyway. And so there he is. And more photos of Landon hanging out. Yeah. There's Landon hanging out with some of his other dog buddies at doggy daycare. There you go. Even more doggy daycare. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you know, there's a lot of times when your animals are basically your children. And so, yeah, they it tends to be stressful. I mean, for me, it's sometimes stressful when when Angus goes off and is gone into the kennel or whatever for a day or two when we have to do things. And so anyway, here he is hanging out with all of his buds. It looks like an awfully clean facility, to be honest with you. Oh, all of the dogs are just kind of hanging out, and they're all so cute and cuddly and running around. He's got some good friends. Go. And there we go. There was his first day. He was not happy, apparently, about leaving. So, anyway. And there he is with his pup cup. He got his reward after being such a good dog at all of the facilities. Oh, all right. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. So I just want to say, Meta, I don't know if anybody has noticed, but Meta has been in a lawsuit where people have been alleging that the social media harms children, but because of the way that they set up the programs to become addictive. And the company has continually denied allegations by the 29 states that sued it that it deliberately tried to get children addicted to Facebook and Instagram. Now, I can tell you from personal experience that, yes, children are very susceptible to this, because I have kids who went through a phase of where they were always on Instagram, and Instagram likes and unreads and, all of that stuff affected them in one way or another. But all of that being the case, they were in court, and the judge just recently had allowed the case to move forward. And, well, Meta has decided to go ahead and settle the lawsuit. So now they have settled the lawsuit for a $17 billion, that is billion with a B, price tag. Meta Platforms has agreed to pay out as much as $17 billion to settle the state claims that it designed Facebook and Instagram to addict children, deceived consumers about the platform's safety, and collected personal data from children who used the platforms, according to court filings made public today. The settlement comes after a federal trial began on August 18th in Oakland, California, where the company denied allegations by the 29 states that it deliberately tried to get children addicted to Facebook and Instagram. The settlement reaches beyond the original 29 states. Attorneys general representing 47 states, plus the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, and Northern Mariana Islands, have joined in the settlement. The Meta agreement is the state's largest consumer protection deal since the National Tobacco Settlement back in 1998. In that particular case, major cigarette makers agreed to make payments to states in perpetuity, and more than $200 billion was paid out in the first 25 years. Now, those companies also agreed to permanent restrictions on marketing their products to young people. On August 18th, Meta had a total market capitalization of approximately $1.39 trillion. Its stock price rose after the news of the settlement spread, pushing its total market capitalization by the close of trading on August 26th to about $1.47 trillion. Meta has estimated that it could face up to $1.4 trillion in penalties, although state attorneys general had said that figure could have been closer to $200 billion. So there you go. The states claim that Meta misled consumers and designed Facebook and Instagram in such a way that it would hook young users leading to increased anxiety, depression, and even suicide. In the settlement, Meta has agreed to institute daily and nighttime usage limits for children who use the two social media platforms, as well as strengthen measures to protect children from accessing age-restricted content. So there you go. There's a lot more about that, but we are at time. So if you haven't done so already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, don't forget pilled.net, PILLED.net, my new streaming platform. Give that a shot as well. Don't forget, on your way out, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a thumb sideways or at an angle if you're 3 Chevy. Across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble and pilled.net. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.